Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Monday night true crime docket is what we're calling this show, where we're going to go through everything that you have to expect for the rest of the week. This is brought to you by Courtroom Confidential, the fastest growing true crime news channel on YouTube. Thank you, everyone, so much for being here. I hope that you had a wonderful weekend. I did. I got a little bit of rest, which is good for me. I'm in a good mood. I'm juiced. I see the Quiet Fringe is juiced. I know Kaylin's in a great mood. Tiffany's in a great mood. And that's because we've got a great show for you. Mary Fitz is juiced. Good to see everyone. Johnny Knoxville says hello to all. Hello, Chihuahua Mama. And who else? Jenny G and Afton and Alicia K. Mayo and Peanuts. Good to see everybody. Hello to you all. Hello to everybody who's new here. If this is your first time watching Courtroom Confidential, welcome. Let me introduce myself. My name is Joshua Ritter. I am a former prosecutor with the LA District Attorney's Office. I was there for about 10 years. I left to go into private practice as a criminal defense attorney, and this is Courtroom Confidential, where we do our best to present to you both sides of the courtroom. And this is our show called Monday Night True Crime Docket, where we're going to go through everything to expect in the week ahead, and we cover some stuff that may have broke over the weekend or late last week that we weren't able to cover on our weekly roundup. So here's what's on the docket for tonight. Late last week, we had news on Kouri Richins and Kimberly Sullivan and Tyrese Gibson. Ever heard of this gentleman? It's new to us discussing here on the channel, as well as a former NFL player by the name of Mark Sanchez, who got himself into a little bit of trouble. So we'll talk about all those new cases. Plus, today, Ruth Miller and Brian Walshe were both had developments. Ruth Miller was in court. Brian Walshe was not. We'll get into that and what that means. And then tomorrow, also, Bionca Ellis was in court today. And then tomorrow, Tyler McCain is in court, and we'll talk about that. If these names mean something to you, fantastic. If they don't worry about it. We're going to update you as to which each of those cases is about and why it's important that we're discussing them and the developments that are taking place this week. Johnny Knoxville, one of my dudes, thank you for kicking us off, my friend, with gifting memberships. Always appreciated. I hope you guys, the ones who receive the gifts of memberships, I hope you enjoy. We put a lot of work into that membership program, and I think you're really going to be happy that Johnny was so generous this evening. All right. Should we jump right in? Did I miss anything? Yes, I did. Stay to the end for announcements. Hit that like button. I'll pause for a moment so that you can hit the like button. Subscribe. I'll pause for another moment so that you could subscribe if you haven't already. And please share this with anybody who you think might enjoy it. And I can't imagine a person who wouldn't, but that's just me. All right. First of all, let's start out with a crazy story about Mark Sanchez. If you don't know who Mark Sanchez is, you are probably not all that into NFL football because he was kind of a big deal not too long ago. First of all, he spent 10 years in the NFL. He was drafted from USC to the New York Jets and bounced around to a couple of other places. But now he has retired from the NFL and he is a commentator for Fox Sports. And we will see how long that lasts. I only highlight the idea that he went to USC because I myself am a Bruins fan and maybe there's a little schadenfreude going on. Anyhow, Mark got into some real hot water, and I shouldn't make jokes about it. He's in some trouble. This took place on Friday, this last Friday in Indianapolis. He was out there covering for Fox Sports the Raiders-Colts game, and about 12:30 at night, in the middle of the night, story goes that he is highly intoxicated, and he's running wind sprints up and down the alley behind a bar where he had been drinking. Why he took it upon himself to do wind sprints in the middle of the night in an alley in Indianapolis is your guess is as good as mine. A grease truck driver who's only been identified by the initials PT, a 69-year-old gentleman, a grease truck driver. These guys have tough jobs. They go in the middle of the night out to places that none of us would like to go, and pick up the used grease from different restaurants, hotels, and they can actually take that and recycle it. It's a dirty job. It's a difficult job. It is not something that anybody wants to do, and certainly not at the age of 69. So already I'm kind of tipping my hat to this man, that he is out there trying to make a living for his family. Don't know much about him at all, but this is what transpires. Sanchez gets into some sort of altercation, something about maybe where he was parked. He wanted him to move. I've also heard reports that the PT, the truck driver, was hard of hearing and may have had to lean in to understand what Sanchez was going on about. In any case, it turns physical and it turns violent. And Sanchez takes PT and body slams this older man and just really roughs him up. PT, to defend himself, gets out some pepper spray and pepper sprays Sanchez. This doesn't stop him. Sanchez continues to go after him to the point that PT has to produce a knife and stabs him 2 or 3 times in his torso, in his chest. Couple of things already. To add to what this man was going through in his life, think about, he's in the middle of the night picking up dirty grease from different restaurants, and he's already got himself armed with a pepper spray and a knife, because it's probably a job where he runs into drunken idiots quite often. Anyhow, responding officers come out. They take Sanchez into custody. He is described as being uncooperative and having a strong odor of alcohol. Both of them are checked into the hospital with significant injuries. Here, I'm going to just warn you, it's a little bit graphic, is a photo of the victim, PT, in the hospital. We actually blurred his face, and believe me, this is good. His face looks much worse. He actually was stabbed, it sounds like maybe with his own knife, through his cheek and into his tongue. Really bad stuff. Sanchez as well is described as in, when this story first broke, I was heard that he was in a critical but stable condition because he had been stabbed in the chest. We have some video actually of him stumbling away from the scene of the incident that we can go ahead and play for you guys now. As you can see, his shirt, you can see him holding his shirt, and his shirt is this is like black and white kind of surveillance footage, but it's discolored. To me, that is soaked in blood. You start losing that amount of blood from your chest, you're in bad shape. This just kind of loops, but he's been described in the video as perhaps intoxicated. I would argue that it looks like he got stabbed. Whatever it is, bad news. Well, he on Saturday is put under arrest for misdemeanor battery and public intoxication. Now, we've talked about this on this channel before. What you get arrested for could end up being very different than what you get charged with, because police make the arrest and they make their initial determination, but prosecutors make the actual charging decision. So things get worse for him. Saturday, he's arrested for misdemeanor battery. By Monday, by today, it's been quote unquote upgraded, even though I quibble with that term because it wasn't upgraded from anything. What he's actually charged with is felony battery causing serious injury. This is bad news, guys. First of all, it's bad news that you have a gentleman who's put in the hospital. Okay. It's bad news that you have a former sports star, now turned, sports commentator, stabbed, probably going to lose his job. All of this is awful. But many times, if you got a felony battery causing serious injury, in California, we would call it great bodily injury, GBI. That's a 7-year enhancement, 7 years prison just for the GBI, plus an additional 7 years for the use of a knife. This is bad news. I'm telling you, all day long, they would be offering prison time for a case like this. Now, how that's all going to work out in Indianapolis, I don't know. Will his intoxication be taken into consideration? Will the mutual combat aspects of it be taken into consideration? Will his status as a celebrity be taken into consideration? I don't know, but I know that this is not any kind of laughing matter that he's just going to kind of walk away from. Really disturbing stuff. Like I said, if he weren't who he is, I could easily see the opening offer from the prosecution being state prison time. But we will see how this all turns out. We will continue to watch it. If you've got questions on it, go ahead and put them up now, Tiff, if we've got them. Johnny Knoxville, he's back. The best burger I've ever had was in Indianapolis. Brew Burger Bar. Highly recommended. Don't recommend drinking and attacking truck drivers, however. Well, I'm only going to say that you can speak upon that subject if you have experience with it. So unless we have to talk, don't knock it till you try it, I guess. But good to know about Brew Burger Bar. That was not the bar. I do remember the name of the bar, and I didn't put it in my notes, but that was not the name of the bar. But thank you, Johnny Knoxville, for the comments. Patty Mahaffey just became a member. Welcome aboard. Please, I hope that you enjoy, Patty. All right. So that was something. Oh, KLB says, will the victim's age be an aggravating factor in the charge? It could be. I know that many jurisdictions, California, where I practice, has enhancements for the age of the victim. Elder abuse allegations can be brought in. Very good point. He's, like I said, this is bad news. Oh, pardon me. I take that back. The use of a knife was the victim. So he might not get that allegation unless it's somehow shown that he grabbed the knife from the victim and then stabbed him in the face. Because like I said, the victim's got like a stab mark to his cheek and through to his tongue. So I don't know. In any case, GBI allegation, you're looking at prison time. It's bad news. Bad news. It's a strike offense in California. So bad stuff. Thank you for that question, KLB. Is he out on bond? My understanding is that yes, that he is, though the stories that I read did not discuss that. Thank you, Dusty Rose. Lindsay Brillhart, thank you so much, says, any updates on Wagner from Pike County? I don't have updates on that. We will look into that. I'll make a note of it. Sorry for that, Lindsay. Jay Jabronius. Hello, my friend. Good to see you. We were just talking about you today. Max sentence for Marcus to become a Jets quarterback again. I read this again. This shouldn't be a joke, but I don't know why this is causing a lot of people to get the giggles about this case. But I read somewhere someone said that they wondered if Mark did this so that everybody would forget about the most embarrassing thing he ever did was the butt fumble. If you guys remember that one, I should have had Kalen cue up footage of the butt fumble. But thank you, Jay, for the super chat on that. All right, let's keep it moving here. The next up, Kouri Richins. She was in court actually last Thursday. And the latest on her, this is a troubling development. So part of the way that they are piecing together the case against Kouri Richins has to do with informants, cooperating individuals, people who helped her procure the fentanyl in this case. And it came out recently. The defense learned that the prosecution, so story goes, is that Kouri purchases or procures the fentanyl from a woman by the name of Karen Lauber. Karen Lauber got it from a man by the name of Robert Crozier. Robert gave an interview to the prosecution back in April. So he gave an initial interview when this all broke, because it's been a couple of years now. Then in this April of 2025, he gives another interview to the prosecution and he recants. And he says that the defense in their motions give this quote. They say the prosecution has been aware of this exculpatory evidence since April of this year. The prosecution did not inform the defense of this information. No press release was issued, no reports, nothing. The prosecution just kept quiet. So what Robert Crozier said was that he was not even dealing in fentanyl back at the time of Eric Richins' death. This is Kouri and Eric, who was killed. That he was dealing in Oxycontin. He does not recall ever telling the prosecution that he sold fentanyl. and that he was, at the time that he was interviewed by them initially, quote unquote, detoxing and out of it. Okay. The defense says that makes his original statements unreliable, but more so, why weren't we told by the prosecution? I will tell you that second argument, I think, is more impactful and stronger for them. The defense goes on to say in their statement, in their motion, that if the state cannot place fentanyl in the hands of the defendant, the state has no case. Mr. Crozier's statement doesn't just poke holes in their case, it throws a grenade into the middle of it, leaving them nothing but speculation and conjecture, getting them nowhere near the realm of beyond a reasonable doubt. Applause, pause for applause. Okay, this is one of those kind of strongly, vociferously worded defense motions. Where is it going to go? Well, I think, like I said, the argument on the recanting of this witness, and therefore the prosecution, the judge should throw out their case, that's not going to go anywhere. Here's a news flash. Witnesses, especially those who have drug problems, oftentimes recant and oftentimes change their story. And that is not something that I am sure this prosecution team has never seen before, nor is it something that the defense team hasn't seen before. And remember, little trivia on this, Kouri is being represented by Catherine Nestor, who also just picked up a new client with Tyler Robinson, the man who is accused of assassinating Charlie Kirk. So she's got quite a full docket. Oh, just speaking about you, Dr. Patrice Berry, psychologist, reacts is here. I'm not sure I agree if they still have the housekeeper saying that she got the fentanyl from him. Oh, so maybe even she is saying that now she didn't get it from him. So they've got witness problems, to say the least. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Patrice Berry. I'll be speaking with you shortly about that, perhaps. Here's the thing. The judge, I imagine, will look at this and go, not my problem. Like, you've got problems with your case. That's up to you. I don't decide now if these witness issues mean that this case shouldn't head to trial and have a jury decide these issues. Nothing about what is being said here is so detrimental to the prosecution case that I feel that in the interest of justice, the judge would have to step in and remove the prosecution's ability to even bring the case. They had those chances back at the prelim, and the judge made his determination on things other than just these witnesses. Okay. And that's the way I think the judge would view it. But where there is a problem is with the idea that the prosecution did not share this with the defense, didn't put it in a report, that, they say they didn't have a press release. They're not going to do that. But the idea that they didn't memorialize it, put it in a report, and give it to the defense is a big no-no and a big problem in my view. Prosecutors will oftentimes, even to avoid issues like this, not re-interview witnesses. Because they know every time they interview a witness, they need to memorialize that and they need to turn that over. In fact, they should be turning it over even if there's no change in the statement. Just the idea that they interviewed this witness, the witness confirmed everything they had to say, here's a new report on that. But the idea that they interviewed this witness and he's recanting and changing, whether you want to say that's recanting or changing is arguable as well. I mean, is he saying, I never sold drugs to anyone during that time, or just I wasn't dealing in fentanyl? And again, if that's a crucial issue, then they can make that argument at trial. But the idea that he's changed his testimony is not as critical to the case as I think the defense is making it sound. Now, the way I think this will play out is, what does the judge do to remedy this? One remedy would be to not allow that person to testify. That would be a problem for the prosecution, a huge problem. I don't think he goes that far. I think he might go as far as to say, well, what more do you need, defense, now that you've got this new information? Because it's favorable to them, by the way. It's not like this new information makes the case against Kouri Richins stronger. So therefore, they need all this time to prepare. It actually makes the case against her weaker because it gives them arguments at trial. So I think the way this will end is he'll probably give a bit of a finger wagging to the prosecution, tell them that's a big no-no, perhaps give the defense more time if they need it. But as far as a remedy of precluding this witness, I don't see it happening. But the defense, Ms. Nestor and team, will probably have a field day with this. I mean, if this is going to be a pivotal witness for the prosecution, I know myself, if I were in that position, I would just be having a field day with that person when they testified. Didn't you say this? Aren't you, didn't you change this? Were you lying then or are you lying now? And how reliable are you? And blah, 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 blah. Could present some issues for the prosecution. We will keep an eye on that case. Obviously, moving forward at the glacial pace that it is, trial is currently set for February of 2026. It's been around a while. I really hope this thing gets to trial soon and not delayed. All right. What else happened last week? Well, first of all, Chicago Marie, thank you so much for becoming a member. Appreciate you. Annie K has a question. Joshua, what motions do you think will be successful by the defense to keep things out of Kouri Richins' trial, like the walk the dog record letter? Not much. They've tried. I believe they've had most of their litigation about this. We talked about that actually a few weeks ago. They tried to attack the warrants. They tried to attack the searches. They went after even on a Fifth Amendment issue where the police had spoken to her while she was represented by counsel, which is actually a Sixth Amendment issue, and didn't inform counsel that they were speaking to her, and they're saying that wasn't an interview, it was something else. All of this has been litigated, including the walk the dog letter, and most of it, and I think all of it, has not gone their way. So I don't think anything's going to be successful for the defense. This is a difficult case for the defense. The one thing I will say is that the defense is not without arguments in this. We actually did a case notes episode on this, and we're even contemplating maybe renewing that and giving you an updated one. But is it a strong circumstantial case that everything points towards her? Sure. But does that mean she doesn't have arguments to say he also did take drugs recreationally? Drugs can be laced. Fentanyl is an epidemic in this country. Certain things about her behavior during that time. Remember, when this all first happened, she was not a suspect. She was a grieving widow. In fact, she was nowhere on their radar initially. And it wasn't until later that they started to uncover her financial issues that they started to take a closer look at you. In fact, she was so much of a grieving widow that she wrote that book, Are You With Me? And went on TV shows promoting it. So there's the case notes that we did a while back. We might be revisiting that one, but I'm not going to say this is a slam dunk. I really do feel in the hands of a skilled attorney, she might have some arguments here. All right. Unless we have other questions, let's move along here to another gentleman that you may have heard of that's got into a little bit of hot water, a man by the name of Tyrese Gibson. He was booked and arrested on Friday. There was actually an arrest warrant out for him since September 22nd that he had not been complying with. But the story goes that on September 18th, and this is really sad, especially for those of you who are dog owners and lovers, he owns 4 Cane Corso dogs. And what's funny is I've seen reports describing them as Mastiffs, and I've seen reports describing them as Cane Corso dogs. And maybe you guys are better dog enthusiasts than I am. I love dogs. But I don't know if there's if those are kind of the same breed or with different ways of describing them. I thought they were totally distinct breeds. But the most recent article that I read said that they were Cane Corso dogs. In either case, Cane Corsos or Mastiffs, they're huge dogs. Strong dogs, can be brutal dogs, can also be great pets, like any dog, I imagine. Cane Corso. Oh, well, there you go, Faye J. See this? See this? Smartest community on YouTube. Faye J coming to the rescue saying a Cane Corso is in fact an Italian Mastiff, so they are the same thing, Ritter. Well, thank you for that. Anyhow, his dogs got out. There were 4 of them. There were also reports that this was an ongoing problem, that they would get loose. And a neighbor is walking his dog, a Cavalier King Charles, which is one of these cute little fluffy dogs named Henry. He lets him out. The King Corso's, Tyrese Gibson's dogs attack and kill that dog. And it's sad. And he has now been charged with, Gibson has been charged with and arrested for animal cruelty. He made a statement on Instagram saying, after nearly 40 years of being a passionate dog lover, my dogs have only ever been treated as family. They've never been trained to harm, never spent a single day in attack or protection training, and they've grown up playing with kids and smaller dogs in my home. That's why this incident has left me shocked, devastated, and heartbroken for the family affected. I think those are very kind words. I don't think he could have said much more and much different from that. I'm gonna say something that who knows how you guys will respond to in the chat, but this is always something that that bothers me. I feel like you see people in the park walking their dogs outside of the park, whatever, off a leash, and those people always say, well, my dog's fine. My dog would never harm anybody, and I've got other dogs at home and I've got kids at home and they're the most gentle animal. And I am sure that they are, but they are also not a human being. And they also don't have the same behavior patterns and brain that we do. And they also can inflict incredible damage if they want to. And that always bothers me. And I'm just kind of saying this because it sounds like that was the way that he viewed these dogs. They're big, strong dogs, but they were lovable pets to him. And he never thought that they would cause a problem. And now they did. And now someone is without their beloved pet as well. So sad situation, but he's been charged with a misdemeanor. I don't think he's going anywhere near jail. I don't think he's going to do any kind of prison time. I think he'll probably pay some fees. He's had to rehome his dogs, which is also sad. And he's probably going to have to go to some sort of animal training or something like that and pay some restitution. So just a small, sad story all around. All right, let's get to another one. That was on Friday. I actually skipped one in time here because also on Thursday was Kimberly Sullivan. This is the horrible story that you may know out of Connecticut, where a fire takes place at her home on February of 2025. When first responders arrive, they are greeted by her stepson, who only has been ever described by the initial S, who is a 32-year-old man at 5'9". And at the time that they recover him, he is 68 pounds. And he tells them that he has been held captive. He's 32 years old, held captive in that home since the age of 11. And that he has only been fed anything but 2 sandwiches a day. Really horrific story. He has now been rescued. He is now actually starting to issue statements. On Thursday, there was a discussion in court about she is now currently on home arrest. This is her attorney, Giannis Kaloidis. Strong Greek name there. She has been on house arrest, and they have asked that she be allowed to return to her home to collect and gather her belongings. She's not even allowed inside the home. Kaylin showed some pictures of this home. If you could put those up again, Kaylin. This home looks like a house of horrors. I mean, this is not, obviously there was fire damage, but Just look at the condition of the home. I mean, this is just this to me shows some sort of mental unrest, but also just looks like an absolute nightmare that this man was living in for 20 something years. Wait a minute, am I doing my math right there? Since the time he was 11 and he's now 32. Yeah, 20 something years. Really sad story. And I'm beginning to get concerned at how seriously everyone is taking this. She's been charged with kidnapping, by the way. Well, her attorney has argued that she should be taken off of house arrest because, quote, we believe there is absolutely no reason whatsoever to shield the accuser from my client. Oh, actually, one other issue was discussed. S, the stepson's medical records have been under seal. And they're asking for that seal to be released. And the argument that they're making is we believe there is absolutely no reason whatsoever to shield the accuser from my client. In fact, my client has the right to come to the confrontation, has the right to confront her accuser in a public hearing. Here's the thing. He's right. Believe me, it pains me to talk about the rights that should be afforded to this woman who denied all rights, dignity, and even basic ability to survive to someone that she was apparently somehow related to for since the age of 11. Anybody who tortures somebody, a child that way, who then turns into a man and is near the point of death that they have to start a fire just to have their life saved. Hard to get your head wrapped around how they deserve rights, but they do. And this argument is not without merit. The argument is, listen, the medical records and this person's testimony and their medical condition is what I'm being confronted with. You've charged me, my client, with a crime. I have a constitutional right to know the evidence and to confront that evidence. And you can't keep that stuff under seal. If you want to, go ahead, but then don't charge my client. But that's the way that the criminal law works. You're going to charge my client, then I get everything. That's the difficult part in a lot of these criminal cases, is that you have to explain to victims sometimes that, listen, if we do pursue criminal charges, we have to turn over everything to them. And that can be some things that you don't want out there. That could be some things that might be embarrassing to you. I think he has an excellent point. I can't imagine why the judge would keep those medical records under seal. Now, the judge can release those with a protective order and just say, I'm giving them to you, but you're not allowed to release them to the public or to the media or to any other third party. And that is done quite often. So I don't know why there would be an exception made in this case. But again, awful case, sickening case. At least we're not talking about a murder, I suppose. But that case will come back to court on October 31st, appropriately enough, and for further kind of pretrial hearings. And we will continue to follow that one because I know it's one that a lot of you have been interested in. All right. If we got questions on that one, I'll go ahead and do them now. I know I'm kind of ripping through these quickly, but I want to make sure that we're able to cover everything. Chris Hancock says, are kidnapping charges the same, irrespective of whether the victim is kidnapped for a few hours or for 21 years? The answer is it's the same law that's being broken. And by the way, it doesn't even have to be a few hours. It can be a matter of minutes. I mean, kidnapping just has to do with moving a person from one place to another against their will. So that can be very temporary. You can ask O.J. Simpson about that one, in fact. What can happen is aggravating factors for those 21 years. And they can start to add on sentencing enhancements for those 21 years. They can even make an argument that there is different acts of kidnapping if that person was allowed, outside of the house at certain points, which has happened in these long-term kidnapping cases. And you can also, start to add in the kind of systematic torture as part of the kidnapping. To answer your point, Chris, though, it is still under the criminal code of kidnapping, but obviously the punishment is going to be different, dependent upon the several factors, including the length of time or other things that were taking place during the kidnapping. Great question, though. All right, Ruth Miller. This is getting now, that was all last week or the end of last week. Now let's get into this week. And starting today, Ruth Miller was in court. Ruth Miller, this is another tragic story. This is out of Tuscarawas County, Ohio. I'm going to just say I got the pronunciation of that right. Tuscarawas, Ohio. On August 23rd at Atwood Lake, in what investigators have described as acts of faith, Ruth Miller took her 4-year-old son, Vincent. Her and her husband had been out to this lake and jumping into the lake to kind of display their acts of faith to God. And that she thought then later that should include her 4-year-old son. She takes him in a golf cart, which you see depicted there, down to this lake. And something I'm interested to see is I've seen some articles describe it as she drove the SNEMAC. That's a great point, and I'm going to tell you why I appreciate you saying that in just a moment. That she drove the golf cart into the lake along with him. But now I'm seeing other reports that she may have just drove him down to the lake and then took him physically and drowned him later, which to me changes the dynamics of the case fairly significantly if she actually took her son and physically held him down and drowned him. The reason why the cart ends up in the lake is that she then later returns for her 15-year-old daughter and her twin sons aged 18 and brings them back in the golf cart and drives it into the lake, and they jump out and survive. Last Monday, she was denied a bond hearing. She was in court, like I said, today, and we couldn't find any updates before we got to go on here live. So I will try to update you on those more later. Really horrific case. And there's videotape. We have a still from it here of her explaining to police openly what she did. And she's talking about, we thought they would be swallowed by a fish and that this was an act of faith. I mean, she is not shy. She's not ashamed. She's very matter of fact in describing how she killed her own son and how her own husband looks like he accidentally drowned himself. So to your point, SNEMAC, from earlier, it is a fascinating case. It's a tragic case and it breaks my heart, but it's also a fascinating case from a psychological perspective. And that is why we are having Dr. Patrice Berry on to talk with us about it on Wednesday, because I find it fascinating from a legal perspective and what is the definition of insanity. And I'm hoping Dr. Patrice Berry can kind of help us understand the psychological dynamics at play behind all of that as well. So she did an excellent episode on this that I invite you all to check out. And that's why we thought, hey, we would love to talk with her. And there she is. She said that she threw him into the lake in the police body cam. From what I remember, so sad. So there you go. So if she's to be believed, the golf cart had nothing to do with it. She took her 4-year-old son, who knows if that kid knew how to swim. I mean, my one of my daughters is just over 4, and the idea of her being anywhere near a body of water, she wouldn't have a chance. Horrible stuff. Dr. Patrice says, agreed, I can't wait. Well, neither can I. So we'll see you on Wednesday. We hope to see everybody watching tonight on Wednesday as well. All right. So that was today. And again, hopefully by Wednesday, we'll have more updates as to the status of this case. Also today, a case that you have been following all very closely, Brian Walshe. He's accused of murdering his wife, Anna Walshe. Her body has still never been discovered. She went missing on New Year's Day of 2023, and they both were from the affluent area of Cohasset, Massachusetts. A case A lot of you have been watching. We have been watching. It's highly anticipated. It was the next trial that we were planning on putting on Courtroom Confidential live trials. And of course, because that's the way things work, it's now been delayed because the judge, surprisingly, has ordered a competencies hearing for Mr. Walshe. Again, kind of going to these psychological issues at play in these criminal trials. We've talked about this before, but there is a difference between competency and insanity. Insanity is a question of, first of all, the mental state of the person at the time of the crime. Competency has to do with their mental state at the time they're sitting in court. So very different questions as far as time, but also different questions as far as the standard that we're looking to. Competency is a very low threshold, and it has to do with, do they understand that they're charged with a crime? Do they understand who the judge is, who the prosecutor is, what they're charged with, who their lawyer is? Can they help their lawyer? Not meaning, do they have any kind of, strategic thinking, but can they answer questions like, where were you and who is that person? And did you talk to that person? Very, very low standard. Competency can also be, you can be declared incompetent and then you can regain competency after perhaps therapy and medication. So in many jurisdictions, when competency is in question, the defense attorney will declare a doubt to the judge. And that usually triggers, without question from the judge, a evaluation of the person. The judge is not going to make an assessment about a person's competency from the bench. So the defense attorney who's had interactions with this person and can tell whether or not that person can assist in their own defense and understands what's happening will say, Your Honor, I need to declare a doubt in this case. The judge will put a pause to the proceedings, put that person into a mental health evaluation. In Massachusetts, it's going to be a 20-day evaluation, and we will find out whether or not he is in fact competent, whether or not he can regain competency. But for right now, he's not heading to trial, which is disappointing because a lot of people have been eager to see justice done in this case. So I hope that won't be delayed too much longer. All right. We got questions on that one before I speed along to our next one, Tiff? Annie K says, is the judge already confronting appellate issues? No, I don't think so. Well, in this respect, I don't think so. I know there's been a lot of other kind of noise surrounding this case with, the digital records, the cloud account records of Michael Proctor, State Trooper Proctor, who was also involved in this investigation, who had a little bit of trouble in a case that shall not speak its name that was handled a while ago in the Karen Reed matter. So I know that's created some noise, but as far as this issue we're talking about right here, Annie K, I don't think so. I think this judge has been handling this case fairly well. All right. Granny Detective says, why did they not do this competency hearing before 2 weeks till trial? Or is this common to do this so close to trial? Great question. The reason for that is they don't handle competency unless it's in question. So 2 weeks ago, it may not have been in question. I don't know. I know that recently he was stabbed in jail. I don't know if that triggered something. I don't know if this is an ongoing issue that his attorneys have been dealing with. His attorney is a man by the name of Larry Tipton. I don't know if he's been dealing with this and now just decided to bring it up to the judge. I also don't know if he's malingering. Ask Dr. Patrice Berry about that. If he's malingering in court when it comes to his own competency because he wants to delay this whole thing. I didn't realize competency was raised with this one too. I will have to check it out before Wednesday. Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. We're putting a lot of stuff on our menu for Wednesday. So it could be one of those things where the attorney declares a doubt. The judge can't do much about it. They evaluate him. Perhaps he comes back and they say, yeah, this guy's competent. Or he's making this stuff up. He's totally fine. He can go to trial, and we move right along. But the answer to your question, Granny Detective, is it has nothing to do with timing other than when do they feel he is no longer competent, and that could occur at any point. It could occur mid-trial, by the way. They could have to pause proceedings if they feel like their client is no longer competent to participate in the trial. The whole point, we obviously understand, is we do not put people on trial who we feel are so untethered to reality that they don't even know what's going on. But great question, everybody. All right. Amy Jo just became a member. Thank you so much, Amy Jo. Welcome aboard. What else did I miss? Anything? Shy Gal has been a member for 10 months. Could you also talk about Lindsay Clancy? I will tell you what, I will use my time wisely with Dr. Berry, and we will get to as much as she's comfortable talking about, but I know for sure we're going to talk about, what did I know for sure we're talking about? Oh, Ellis. That's right. No, not Bionca Ellis. Wait a minute. Ruth Miller. Pardon me. Ruth Miller for sure. Ruth Miller for sure. Bionca Ellis also, I think, is on the topics. And then I'll see how much she'd be willing to kind of weigh into other issues, but I don't want to put her too much out of her comfort zone. All right. God, get it together, Ritter. Where are we here? What was that we just talked about? Brian Walshe. Oh, here's where I got Ellis in my head. Bionca Ellis was in court today. They started opening statements on this case. You want to talk about cases that make me sick, cases that make me, that I have a tough time really considering. If I start to think too much about the moments of this little boy's life, it starts to tear me apart. 3 years old Julian Wood, just out with mom, running errands, just something we all do every single day, all the time. 3-year-old hanging out with mom, running errands, and Bionca Ellis goes into a store, a thrift store. This is in North Olmsted, Ohio. June 3rd, 2024, steals some knives from the store. She's caught on surveillance doing that. Walks outside with a large knife, randomly and unprovoked, stabs Julian Wood to death, a 3-year-old boy. I cannot, there she is. I mean, if you want to talk about something that's nightmare fuel, there she is. I can't even imagine what that mother has gone through, continues to go through, all their loved ones. Just, you know, the word tragedy seems like it doesn't mean enough for when you're describing something like this. So she, to our point about competency, was declared incompetent at one point, then regained competency, and now they are pleading not guilty by reason of insanity in her case. And that's, again, I'm glad we went through all those issues earlier because they're all going to play a big role in this case. Here's the, now that you understand what competency is, let me explain to you simply what insanity means from a legal perspective. All it means is that because of some sort of injury or some sort of illness, at the time that the crime was committed, you could not appreciate the consequences of your actions, and specifically, you couldn't appreciate that what you were doing was wrong from either a moral or legal perspective, okay? Now, that is so specific that it can include things like, I killed this person in the name of God. I drowned my son in an act of faith. I did it because the dog was telling me to do it. As long as you knew what you're doing was wrong, that's not insanity as far as the criminal law is concerned. Insanity would be, I had no idea I was so delusional at the time that I thought I was helping the person. I thought I was blessing them with the knife, whatever it is. It's a really different standard than what we might look at something and go, well, that person must have been crazy. But that is not what insanity means for the purposes of the crime of criminal law. Therapist, you know, says insanity is at the time of the crime, competency is at the time of trial. Absolutely correct. You get 2 stars. Here's what the prosecution. So with all of that in mind about insanity, here's what the prosecution said during their opening statement. Here's a couple of quotes. Pay attention to actions and words. They're very, very important in this case. And when you do that, you'll find Bionca Ellis guilty beyond a reasonable doubt for each and every count of this indictment. She knew what she did. She appreciated the wrongfulness of her actions. You be the judge of her actions. That's exactly what a prosecutor is going to argue in this case, is don't just look at the thing that took place and decide that's only the actions of a crazy person, but look at her actions and words, and does she appreciate what she's doing? Did she run from the scene? Did she dispose of the knife? Did she try to hide from capture? Did she? All of those things are indicatives of somebody who knows what they did is wrong. The defense, for their part, realizing that these issues are the most important issue, says she's responsible. This is, I thought, very interesting, the tactic that they're taking here. This is a quote. She's responsible for the murder of Julian. She acknowledges through her lawyers that she's responsible for the attempted murder of Margot. That's the mother. There's no running away from that. That's not what this trial is about. The evidence will show, though, that it is obvious that she was insane at the time of the event. So they're not going to fight what took place. This is a full-fledged NGI defense. She did it. She admits through her attorneys that she did it, but she was insane. And we're going to explain to you why. So they're going to concede a lot in this trial. I don't expect a lot of cross-examination of people until it gets to the actual presentation of expert witnesses talking about her mental state. That started off today. And then finally, tomorrow, it's kind of a slow week, but tomorrow, Tyler McCain is back in court. Tyler McCain is out of Shasta County here in California. His wife, Nikki Chang Saley McCain, went missing on May 18th of 2024. He recently went through his preliminary hearing on her murder. He was held to answer on September 23rd. And on Tuesday, tomorrow, he will have an arraignment on the information, is what they call it. So get your notebooks out just briefly, but this is how it works. You get arrested in California for a felony. They file a criminal complaint. The complaint is the charging document that brings you to the prelim. At the prelim, they have to show probable cause that you committed the crime. If they do, you are held to answer, and then you are arraigned again on a charging document called the information. The criminal information then is what you go to trial on. So there's actually two different charging documents, the criminal complaint and then the information based upon the probable cause hearing. And they can change. You can add counts, you can dismiss counts. So what you're charged with in the complaint might not always be, but most times it is what you're charged with in the criminal information. So he was held to answer for what was in the complaint, and now he will be arraigned on the information tomorrow, and he will head to trial for first-degree murder of his wife, whose body has still never been discovered. All right. That's everything. That's what's happening last week. That's what's happening this week. Let me give you some quick announcements and get you guys out of here so you can watch some more Dodger baseball. First of all, go to our website, thecourtroomconfidential.com. This is the place where you're going to find things like, how do I leave a message for Sunday Funday? I've heard about Sunday Funday. It sounds fun. It's in the name. I want to participate in it. How can I leave a message? You go to thecourtroomconfidential.com and you click on leave us a message, and I will answer those live this coming Sunday. Membership. Everybody's getting all these memberships. I want one. Well, you should have one. Go to thecourtroomconfidential.com and click on become a member and find out about all the perks of membership. And merch. If you're looking at me and you're going, wow, what a sharp shirt Ritter is wearing this evening. I wonder what that color is called. You go to the shop at thecourtroomconfidential.com and you can find all of the colors that we offer, all of the designs, plus things like tumblers, plus things like mugs. My favorite mug in the whole world. Dr. Patrice Berry says, thanks for this. Thank you so much for agreeing to speak with us on Wednesday. Let's get juiced for Wednesday. Shamrock Shake says Jen H. Great guess. Color of Money. Ooh, ice. Love it. Color of Money. Good one. It is the color of money. Great show, says Cat Ride. What is this color called, Tiff? You have exactly 3 seconds to answer. She's ignoring me. I'd rename the color Sage Advice. That's really good. Guilty Green, says Steam Mac. You guys are so clever. We got to start renaming these things. That should be an ongoing theme. Dark Green. Boo. Boo. Don't like it. Objection. Sustained. All right. What did you miss this weekend? Saturday, we had our live weekly roundup. We wanted to give it a try. We thought you guys would like it. I think that you did. We talked about Diddy and Tyler Robinson and David, Brian Koberger a little bit. That's up on the channel. Please go check it out right now. Sunday, we did Sunday Fun Day. We had a great time. If you missed it, you missed out. Go watch it right now. We talked about the Green River Killer. Okay? You want to hear a discussion on that? Go to our Sunday Fun Day. We talked about Aaron Spencer, Brian Koberger, Laken Snelling, all of the cases that you've been following. Stay tuned. Like I said, Wednesday, you're not going to want to miss it. She was here tonight saying hi, and you can see exactly why we're all excited. Dr. Patrice Berry will be on Wednesday Night Live at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be talking about Ruth Miller and Bionca Ellis, and maybe I'll see if I can convince her to weigh in on some other cases that have these interesting psychological elements at play. That's this Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. This Friday, we're trying something new. We're going to start trying to do our weekly roundups live because we like that interaction. You guys enjoy it. So this Friday, live, new time, same show, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. Why so early? Because it's your Friday and we want you to have your Friday night. So at 2 p.m. Pacific this Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, we will be live on this channel to do your weekly roundup. Don't miss it. Get all the news that you've been missing, everything that took place this week, and everything that you can be looking forward to. Then on Sunday, Sunday never changes. Sunday Fun Day, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. Leave us a message. We need to hear from you guys, and we need more messages. CrimeCon's coming up in Vegas, May 29th through 31st, 2026. Don't miss out. We will be there. We're going to have a booth. I'm going to just stumble onto stage at some point and grab a microphone and participate if they don't invite me to do something, because I don't think they'd stop me. So CrimeCon will be in Vegas. And if you want to go and you need more motivation, well, then we'll give you 10% off with this discount code Courtroom, all caps, all one word. Enter that at the checkout and you can get that discount. Thank you to some of our new members: Maverick Angel, A Wood Now, Leanna, Megan Mulderick, Ms. Vicky, Linda H, Peggy R, Kelly B69, Perry Winkle Moon, Pimabo, Christine A, Nurse Not Lawyer, Christine Wiegman, and Vicky Trelfellner. Thank you guys so much for choosing to become a member of Courtroom Confidential. We appreciate you, and we hope that you enjoy being a member here. We try to make it something that is of value to you. To our mods, Afton and Kathy and Shy Gal and therapists, you guys, you know how much we appreciate you. Thank you so much for being mods and taking care of all of us. And thank you to Kaylin for putting up with me and making this show always run so smoothly. And thank you to Tiffany for putting up with me in life and taking care of those kiddos and being the best thing that ever happened to me. And before I go, the Quiet Fringe has gifted us 5 more Courtroom Confidential memberships. Enjoy, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on a Monday night. We will see you all Wednesday. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.